Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be me diving into building a Fire Knight 20 team for somebody who has not completed Fire Knight 20, and they wanted me to kind of log in, build them a team, and see what I can do and what I come up with on their account. So first, I'll show you, before I do anything, what they were using, why it wasn't working, and then based on their champions, kind of a loose plan of what I'm thinking, and then I will go ahead and do it and show you the results. So let's get into it. So this is kind of the starting point, and I'm going to walk you through kind of what things looked like before I get started, and then I'll kind of show you afterwards what I did, and we'll be able to show the contrast of exactly what I changed and what I was able to do for this person. So let's take a look at what they're running for the Fire Knight right now. So it looks like they did stage 19. They barely got through it. Maybe they manualed it just to get to 20, and they have not been able to do stage 20. So this looks like what they are using right now. Well, the good news is they've got some really good champions, so we may have to figure out what's going on in terms of gear and but this is what they're using right now, and let's see what kind of goes wrong during this run in terms of what they were kind of trying to do. All right, so let me pop this up here. All right, so we're probably gonna have someone like Xavia die or something. We may have to gear things to be a little bit tougher, but we may make it a little bit with the Valk shield and stuff like that. Yeah, there goes the Xavia. Okay, and that can't happen. We don't have a reviver or anything on this team, so that's just not going to cut it if we've got Xavia already falling over. So alright, I'm going to take a look at exactly what I can figure out for this person's account, and then I will be back showing you my thought process in terms of what I changed, why I did it, and how I geared it. Alrighty, and fast forward to now. I am done with my work. I'm happy with how it went. I was able to get them a pretty solid Fire Knight team, I think, and I will showcase that for you right now and kind of talk about exactly what the process was and how I got to this point. So one thing to note with this team is I could not mess with Skull Crusher. Skull Crusher is in their clan boss team. They've got an unkillable comp with Roshard and Skull Crusher, a pretty famous unkillable comp, so they did not want me to mess with the speeds and the gear and stuff for champions in their clan boss, and the only champion in here that they use for that comp is Skull Crusher. So I did want to use Skull Crusher just to help with the toughness and a little bit more consistent counterattack, but I could not mess with his gear, so I had to kind of use him as is. Now, one thing that would help is if I could manual it a little bit just to stagger the counterattacks a little bit. That would help out a lot, but I want to set up something that I know works on full auto for them so that they are able to get the Arbiter missions and kind of progress their account in that way. I want the team to, I want to show how to perform without me doing anything in terms of optimizing it, even something small at the start. So the main thing I had to spend my time on was building them a proper Cold Heart, because they didn't have a Cold Heart, if you saw from previous when I showed their team that was kind of failing. They had the Xavia and stuff, and Xavia is great, but I wanted to make sure I get them a team that's consistent, 100% win rate. They can probably optimize it a little bit later on and turn it into some sort of a speed run with a Xavia detonation. If they can get like shield sets or get a little bit more toughness on the champions and stuff. But that was the bulk of my process, was building them a proper Cold Heart, because they didn't have one built really at all in terms of being ready for the Fire Knight, and Cold Heart is double S tier for the Fire Knight. She's probably the best rare in the game for Fire Knight. So, you know, with that 4-hit A1 and the turn meter reduction, the heal reduction, and scaling with enemy max HP, hitting super hard, only needing 70% crit rate. She's just incredible, especially with counterattack and a setup like this. With that 4-hit A1, we can constantly burst down the shield of the Fire Knight there. So yeah, Apothecary is a very, very good cheap option in terms of being a rare. There's basically nothing he doesn't do. He buffs the speed. He comes in with clutch heals. He's got the 3-hit A1. So Apothecary makes sense there, and then put him as a leader to make the shields even stronger for Valkyrie and to help out with the defense in general. So Venus, I didn't have to touch a whole lot. I optimized the speed a little bit more. Skull Crusher, I couldn't change at all. Valkyrie, I did change pretty significantly. They had their Valkyrie built as a damage dealer, so I went a completely different route and built the Valkyrie to get as much defense as I could, to make the shield worth more, to make my survivability a little bit better and more consistent. And I don't think the gist of Valkyrie's value is necessarily in how hard she hits. So I did change the Valkyrie pretty significantly. The Apothecary was pretty well built, so I optimized his speed a little bit, but didn't have to change a whole lot on the Apothecary. And there is the 3-minute Fire Knight team that I built for this person, and now I'll kind of walk you through the exact gear changes I made. So starting with the Venus, and first of all, there is a lot more I could probably do, but they didn't have a ton of silver. I didn't want to spend everything they have, so I wanted to kind of complete the job for as cheap as possible and save them what I could. So you'll see here, you know, Venus still has a level 12 artifact here. I could easily take that to 16 to help out, but again, I'm trying to do it for as cheap as possible. A 3-minute Fire Knight team, that should be a good introduction to getting them started, and they can optimize things from there. I don't think Venus really necessarily needs the lifesteal set, so that's something I could possibly see them change in the future. Now, if you're using Venus in the clan boss with the War Master mastery that they have here, then it makes sense to have. But with their comp, I don't think they're using Venus in the clan boss, so they could probably get a little bit more optimization on the Venus by swapping out the lifesteal. It's not going to be super impactful in the setup that I have here. And then the next champion was the Valkyrie. Now, they had Valkyrie in lifesteal and a bunch of stuff there. So what I did was I went ahead and just went max defense with as much speed as I could. So I'm pretty happy with how the Valkyrie turned out. We've got a lot of defense and a lot of speed. I've got that defense pumped up all the way to 6,300. So we're going to have a mass shield, and the speed is still pretty good at about 195. So the Valkyrie definitely turned out very good. The Skull Crusher, again, not a whole lot to go over here. They said they didn't want me to touch the Skull Crusher, so I didn't. And this is how they have it set up. Obviously, if I was building the Skull Crusher for the Fire Knight team, I would change a lot, and I would get the speed bumped up just a little bit. You do want Skull Crusher to go towards the back end of the rotation, but there's obviously a lot of things I would change if I was able to change that champion, but it ended up working out just fine, not having to change the Skull Crusher. And then in terms of the Apothecary, again, didn't have to do a whole lot. I changed like the banner to make sure I'm getting speed. That's probably the most important thing to focus on the Apothecary. Even more important than the main stat is to get speed on that banner. So they had this banner laying around, even though it's 4 stars. It was the best option in terms of getting my Apothecary's speed as high as possible, so I threw that on there, and I optimized the speed a little bit in like 1 or 2 other places just to get that speed bumped up to 260, which I'm happy with. Anywhere between like 230 and above should be good enough for the Apothecary, so that Apothecary did come out very well. And lastly, getting their Cold Heart built for them was definitely the bulk of my time doing this. So had to kind of build this from scratch, and I wanted to get the accuracy very good because that Heartseeker needs to be consistent on the Fire Knight. It's very important. So getting the Cold Heart up there 240, 250 and above accuracy, very vital for stage 20, and that's why I use a couple pieces of accuracy, a couple pieces of speed. You want to get that Cold Heart speed up there around 190 to 200, and you do want to make sure she's going after the Venus so that the Venus has time to debuff. So as long as the Venus is above that, I am good. And then you get your counterattacks ideally coming at the back end of the rotation with the Skull Crusher and the Valkyrie. So I would want to get this Cold Heart even a little bit faster because the Valkyrie was at like 195. So if we could pump up Cold Heart to like 197, that would be even more optimized because the Venus was all the way up at 206. So we've got a little bit of room to grow there on the Cold Heart. But yeah, Cold Heart was the priority, so that's why I tried not to use too many glyphs, but the glyphs I did use, I put into the Cold Heart just to get the Cold Heart as strong as possible, because very important to get our Cold Heart up as close to 40,000 HP as we can with some decent defense. That's why a defense ring is very good on Cold Heart. We want to get that flat defense roll, that big defense roll on the ring. So a flat defense ring, very good choice on Cold Heart. I made sure and went that route. This one worked out perfectly. And then definitely we want an accuracy banner because we want that Heartseeker to be as strong as possible. If they can find a double speed roll accuracy banner, that would basically get their cold heart to where it needs to be, because the crit chance is good. We've got 75%. We need 70% for Heartseeker to you know, proc always, because we get the 30% inherently off of the Heartseeker ability. So anything over 70% is gravy. So the HP is good, the accuracy is good. The only spot for optimization would be to get like 6 or 7 more speed, and if they get a double rolled speed accuracy banner, they should be completely set and ready to rock on the cold heart. So yeah, just to put a bow on it here, this was a fun account to kind of dive into and crack the code of putting together a good auto-friendly Fire Knight team. I was able to get it to about 3 minutes on full auto. They have pretty good champions. I think they could optimize this thing and get her down to about 2 minutes or so pretty easily. You could make a case for Krutraxa. She does have a 4-hit A1. She ignores defense. I did not invest in a Krutraxa, but definitely an option. She can also self-revive herself if it comes to that, if she's able to. So you can glass her out a little bit more, but it is only 2 turns, so you do have to be careful with the Krutraxa. Now, if they get Arbiter, you could possibly replace the Apothecary or something, or even the Skull Crusher. You could do some fun things once you complete the Arbiter missions and get the, because I use Arbiter in my Fire Knight team that does the Fire Knight in like a minute 15. I've got a guide showing my end game Fire Knight team on my channel, so I do feature an Arbiter in mine. So definitely some room to grow, but I'm really happy with the starting point that we're able to get them to, and the rest of their account is going pretty well. I checked their dungeon times and everything was pretty respectable on level 20, so they should be heading in the right direction. They could even build another Ceres. They've already got this one maxed out here. Nothing wrong with building 2 or 3 Ceres now that 3v3 arena is out, so I would recommend they go that route. Also, Angar and Longbeard can both be pretty good in the Fire Knight. Angar has the reflect damage, can really help you keep that shield bursted down, and Longbeard can also be good to really bring the ally attack and get through those waves and slam down that shield, especially if you've got good A1 multi-hitters like Apothecary and Cold Art. You can really do a lot of damage with Longbeard, and Armiger is pretty good in the Fire Knight as well. He's already got him in a Relentless set and geared out pretty decently, so Armiger would have been another option. You could possibly go a more never let the shield come back up sort of thing, but with the Armiger only at level 50, I didn't toy around with that too much. If the Armiger would have been at level 60, I would have possibly played around with throwing him in there. So yeah, they should be set and ready to rock. Stag Knight is a good option as well that I could have played around with, but I ended up kind of nailing it on the first shot here and getting it to where I was kind of happy with. So yeah, as always, I appreciate you watching, and definitely let me know what you think down in the comments in terms of content you would like to see, and if you like this type of video, anything I can do better, all that sort of stuff. I really enjoy reading your guys' input. So have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching. Peace.